Hello and welcome back. This is still Premium Times Elections Live Update. My name is Jamakal Kafor, and I'm joined in the studio this evening by Mathew Ayibakuro. He is the Governance Advisor for the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Organization (FCDO) at the British High Commission here in Nigeria, and he's joined us in the studio this evening to talk about the work they have been doing around the elections, the build-up today, and of course the partnership they have with several civil society organizations in Nigeria. Hello, Mathew.
Hi,
Good evening.
good evening.
You don't look like you've been around and about.
I
You look
have,
so relaxed.
I am trying to be relaxed, but we have
Okay.
been out and about since the start of the day.
Okay. How has it been?
It's been interesting. It's been good to just go around and see what various civil organizations and our partners are doing in observing the process. It's been good to follow up. We know the INEC chairman has had about 2 press briefings in the course of the day, so following up with updates coming in from INEC and just following up with also reports from the media and other organizers and partners on this.
I understand you support INEC,
Yeah.
and of course, this has been going on for a while
Yes.
before today.
Yes.
And you've, of course, been in contact with them in communication, in understanding their preparedness, the amount of work they're doing, technical issues, and everything in elections. And INEC has promised Nigerians and, of course, their partners like you that they were fully ready for this process today. And then we see the elections started late. There's a general consensus around that. As of 2 p.m. in Ekulobia local government in Anambra, elections material did not arrive. That's an example
Okay.
of, late starts of elections. And elections were supposed to start at 8:30 a.m. And we're seeing that by 2 p.m. we hadn't seen some. Today, this evening in FCT, there was rain, and normally we would have had elections done before this time. What I'm driving at is to ask you what this means in terms of, the promise or the assurance rather that INEC had given that they were fully prepared for the elections. And then we see issues of late arrivals, beavers not working, beavers being snatched, like the INEC chairman said, in some locations, and all these issues. We've also seen videos on social media of violence in Lagos and Rivers. After having seen all this, how does it feed into the assurances you receive from INEC, and how do you feel about giving support, and then at the end of the day, it feels like your support isn't sufficient?
Well, a couple of things. Firstly, our support for INEC is part of our broader support for Nigeria's democracy, mainly because we believe that Nigeria's democracy is important, not just for Nigeria, but within the broader African regions and even globally. And this is a support that has been long-standing and it's long-term. So we see elections as one event in that process. INEC's chairman's public statements about our preparedness is something that everybody heard, everybody saw, and then we've come into election day. And of course, like you've been following the reports of what's been happening. I think the important thing is to just look at what civil society organizations are saying, what the media is saying. From our perspective, we support these partners because we see democracy, we want democracy to progress in Nigeria. And we are really waiting to come to the end of the day and see what the final reports are from everywhere. And of course, we're going to support both civil society partners and INEC to review this process, see what has gone well, see what hasn't gone well, and see what more we can do in this continuous journey that Nigeria has in this democratic process.
Like you often say, preliminary, interim. Do you have any such concerns?
Well, a lot of this, because we are looking at this through the lenses of the partners that we support and we work through. We were at the society situation on press briefing at 12 today. Yaga Africa had one just after 1 o'clock. The Center for Democracy and Development had one just after 2 o'clock. And the reports they have so far is a bit of a varied experience across the country. And so in certain polling units, I think most of them reported that in certain parts of the country, 40 to 50% of polling units opened at 8:30 when they were supposed to open. In some other parts, for instance, and in parts in the southeast, it was quite low, about 10% from data that Yaga released during their press briefing. So there's a bit of a very varied experience. And I guess the INEC chairman in his press briefing said anybody who's at a polling unit at 2:30 would still be allowed to vote no matter how long it takes. And at this point, it's about basically understanding these reports coming in, but also encouraging Nigerians to be patient and make sure that they try to exercise their votes at the end of the day.
Should these elections run into tomorrow or the day after, do you think INEC, who you supported over time, is capable to run the elections for more than one day?
I think this is a question for INEC to answer, basically. And INEC chairman did say in his press conference that everyone who is at the queue at 2:30 would be allowed to vote. And I think Nigerians and all stakeholders should hold him to that and make sure that if they are at the queue at 2:30, they are able to vote, because that is what he has said, and that is actually what the law says as well. If he has any concerns about that happening, I understand he's going to continue addressing the press and providing updates on that. And like most stakeholders, we are going to follow up with those statements.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask again, but in
Yeah.
a different language. Do you think that the support you provided is sufficient enough to see INEC through this?
So our support for INEC is a support that we provide basically unconditionally. How prepared INEC is something for them to say. They did say that they were prepared, right? Some of our colleagues, myself included, were at the press conference INEC has in the last 2 days, and they said they were ready to deliver this. And so we'll have to trust what they have said, and I think Nigerians should hold them to that and see how they deliver the elections.
What does cancellation of elections in 141 polling units say?
141, where is that?
In Imo State.
Is it cancellation or postponement?
Well, so cancellation today, postponement.
I mean, what we found, and an example of this was in Anambra State, where we also observed the elections, the off-cycle elections in Anambra in 2021. INEC couldn't hold elections in a number of polling units, and they asked voters to come back a couple of days after, and they did actually carry on those votes. And the law, the Electoral Act states clear-cut conditions under which polls can be postponed to the next day. And so if INEC is doing that, the important thing will be for them to follow the law as stipulated and carry out the votes the day after.
Yeah. Are you concerned that the several situations we've seen today might lead to chaos and uprising among citizens?
I think the reports from our CSO partners like Situation Room, Yaga, CDD has been quite interesting how they've said citizens have been quite patient in following up with this process. And there's a lot of credit to Nigerian citizens that despite the late opening of polls in locations, citizens have been quite patient with the process. And I think that is something that is very encouraging, and we hope that citizens will continue to be patient and follow this process to its conclusion.
Do you have any last words for Nigerians as we see this process through?
I think the official records of voter turnout is not out yet, but the reports we hear based on what CSOs have brought in is that there's been quite an enthusiastic approach to these elections. Nigerians have come out ready to vote, and that is a very important indicator of democratic progress in Nigeria, that citizens have been engaged, and we've seen degrees of engagement for these elections that are much more than previous elections. And I think when you look at the bigger picture, that is something that Nigerians should be really proud of. It's something that we should look to build on. And I think that at the end of the day, that's going to lay down the foundations for the progress that we need to make as a country.
Thank you very much, Matthew, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
There you hear from Matthew. He brings commendations for Nigerian citizens from the FCDO, commending us for being patient through the process. As much as, it's so strenuous, we've kept our cool throughout, and we hope that we keeping calm until the process is over and the winner is declared. This is Premium Times Elections Update. My name is Chama Kalkapo. Stay tuned.